Hi guys, Paul here. Good to be with you again. I'm sitting here today, well, right next to Mike Buchanan, who's about 4,000 miles from me, uh, with the Justice for Men and Boys Party. Hi, Mike. How are you doing?
Hello, Paul. I'm doing very well, thank you. And yourself?
I'm doing great. Eventful days these days. I'll run over a couple of items before we get started talking about ICMI. After 14 years of building and running a voice for men and becoming a thorn in the side to feminists around the world and a thorn in the side to mainstream media and even to blue pill people who don't look very favorably on what we think and how we want to live around here, I have decided that it's time to hand over the reins to somebody else. That comes in the person of Robert Brockway, an Australian MRA who's already been behind the scenes at AVfM working hard and diligently for many years now. He's the guy for the job. I mean, I could go down a very long list of things about Robert that would assure people that we're putting it in the right hands, but I think I'll just let Robert prove that for himself with his plans. The transition took care, and I don't mean that sexually, the transition took place last night. There is a new article, which I'll link below, on A Voice for Men, announcing this, the reasons behind it. And among the reasons that you're going to read about in that article is the formation of XY Crew, which is, to give a brief history, we started 5 years ago out of my Patreon account having weekly men's meetings for my patrons. And it was just an amazing experience to see a group of men, in this case face to face because of video technology, openly and honestly talking about their lives, their lived experience, outside of an atmosphere of shame and attack, which is usually what accompanies men being honest with the world about what their life is like. It's done so well that we have expanded. We are now doing groups 7 days a week, sometimes 2 groups a day. There's a 24/7 cyber shed, and we're having our first on-ground event linked below come October. Mike will be joining us there in the United States, in Southwest Virginia, in a very beautiful part of the country for a retreat / jamboree for men who belong to XY Crew. And links to all this below. But that's my announcements. I am turning over a new leaf in life. AVfM is going to enter a new chapter, and I'm going to dedicate the rest of my living days to building this on the ground and video connection between men across the planet. And hopefully we'll have lots of live events coming up in the near future, but we're starting this October outside of Roanoke in Virginia. And that's it for my little spiel before we get into digging about what's going on with ICMI, which is also very exciting.
Well, Paul, thank you. I think we all thought that you were going to lead AVfM until until you were in a box.
I thought so too.
So as I said in an earlier chat today, Paul, it came like a bolt of lightning out of a clear blue sky when I saw that today. Your contribution through AVfM and elsewhere has just been, I can't put it into words. I'm not the guy to put it very well into words, but it's been so hugely influential to so many people. And I really don't think the modern men's rights movement would be where it is without your contribution to it. I think
thank you very much for that.
I honestly think you've accelerated it by years. And the people who can claim to have done that, I can count on the fingers of one hand after a chainsaw accident, quite frankly. So thank you, Paul, personally. And I know a lot of people watching this are going to be startled and surprised, but I think they'll understand your decision. And Rob Brockway is a great guy. I know he'll make a great success of it. And we have a saying for these occasions in the UK, which is, "The king is dead, long live the king."
Thank you for that. I really appreciate the kind words, and and I think it's incumbent on me to point out that over the years, including people like yourself, Mike, AVfM was not just my effort. There was a lot of people involved that did great work over the years. Some people come and gone. Some people came and left in not the best of circumstances, as sometimes happens in the men's movement. And it's sad, but we're okay with that. But there's been a lot of incredible contributors. One of the things I reflected on in looking back on this was how world shaking we got to be for a few years. We had the whole world reacting to us. We were one of the top traveled websites and one of the top 30,000 on the planet, which is a very difficult place to get, much less pushing material that people hate. So this collective effort of all these people gathered together to do this work, I think had incredible effect. I'm looking forward to seeing what Rob does with it in the future. Long live the king indeed. Rob's a good man. He'll do great things with the website.
I'm sure he will. And the XY Crew, I think, another wonderful initiative, and it can only benefit from your devoting more of your time and energy to it. It's also a wonderful new website. I was very, very impressed with it, as you know.
Linked below, folks. Come visit us.
Yep.
Read about the Jamboree. Read about what we're doing and why. And it's a lot of condensed information and just a very few pages. It won't take you long to read, but it'll give you a good idea of what we're up to and what we're trying to accomplish with this.
And the
Which
6
is
days,
basically taking this to the ground.
yeah. And there's a 6-day Jamboree for XY Crew members. I mean, very overpriced, I think, for $25, but never mind. We can always leave that to one side for now.
Yes, we decided we were really going to rake in the cash on this. I'm insisting that people pay $25 to attend.
Yeah.
And that covers your hotel, food, airplane transportation, anything you could think of, drugs,
Flights, yeah.
Dancing girls, everything will be covered with that $25, folks. So just go ahead and sign up today.
It's going to be a great event. I'm so looking forward to it. Okay, well, I guess we turn to ICMIs. And thanks again for allowing me to use your channel, Paul, to put this video out. It's always appreciated. As you know, Paul, I'm responsible for the online ICMIs as well as the in-person ICMIs in North America and Europe. And because of COVID related restrictions, there isn't going to be an ICMI, an in-person one this year. Though I'll be running an online one from the 17th to the 20th of November. And I'm very grateful to you and Janice Fiamengo, by the way, for hosting the North American leg of that event. And something I'd like to invite all of your followers. We're inviting for the third year in a row, people to submit either video presentations or to be interviewed for the conference. And we've had some great new people sort of come onto the scene at these conferences. So hopefully a few people will take up that offer. Now, I've just got too much on my plate, Paul, over the coming few years, including the relaunch of my political party as the Children and Families Party. And I plan to campaign for the next 2 general elections, which will take me, I think, to the age of 71, I think, 71 or 72. So I've got too much on my plate to host North American ICMIs personally, but I think, frankly, they really should be hosted by Americans or Canadians.
I think so too. I mean, that makes perfect sense, Mike.
Yeah, you have a combined population of 366 million people. I would hope there might be 2 or 3 in that number.
In the typical numbers for the men's movement, 366 million people might net 3 to 4 people that would be qualified and willing to do the job.
But yeah, they're wonderful events. They're great to stage. They're I won't pretend that they aren't hard work, but I've put together about 3 pages of guidance for anybody who might have an interest in hosting them. And I'll leave my email address and so on in the low bar. I'm planning to host the next in-person ICMI in Budapest, the Hungarian capital, in 2024. And each of the 4 geographical regions, North America, Europe, India, and Australia, is planning to host in-person ICMIs every 3 years. So in 2023, Anil Kumar wishes to run one in Goa in February, and hopefully the summer or the fall of that year, there'll be one in North America somewhere. There's been 2 in the US, so perhaps it'd be nice to have one in Canada. But let's see.
Hopefully in the belly of the beast. I'd like to see one in Toronto.
Yeah, I tried to book 1 or 2 places in Vancouver, and frankly, it would have been easier to book somewhere on the moon. It was quite an experience, I can tell you.
I'm sure they found out you were male and
Yes,
became a problem from there.
indeed, indeed. Just quickly on the subject, the last ICMI, which is only gosh, only about 4 or 5 weeks ago, we're going to be posting all the remaining videos onto my website and your website, Paul, over the 14th to the 20th of February. So that's going to be all, I think it's 144 videos are going to be available for people to watch. We've already started booking speakers for November's conference. One of the guests of honor I was really excited about is an American professor. I can't name her at the moment, but she's going to be talking about the mental health issues experienced by women who've had abortions, something that is denied by the American Psychological Association. So, you know, damn right it's true. So I think people are going to find that very interesting. And that's really all I have on ICMIs. So, you know, if people will email me with expressions of interest by the end of February, by the way. So it's only about 6 weeks.
Yes, and if you want to email me about doing a presentation at the next online ICMI that Janice and I will be hosting, I'm looking very much forward to that. You can reach me at paul@paulelam.com. And I want to toss in something else just for a second here. I think recognition is due. Mike, you've been doing this work for a long time, doing a bang-up job at it, and now I've seen finally you are being instrumental in bringing the topic of child murder, mass child murder that we euphemistically refer to as abortion, as an issue in the men's community. And it is a men's issue. We could sit here and have an hour-long discussion, but I am excited to see this being brought to the fore. It's an important issue. Men need a voice in this because men are the only ones likely to be a voice on behalf of the child. And that's a very sad statement to make, but it's a very important one to make as well. So thank you for that. I really appreciate it.
I feel very strongly about the issue. As you know, Paul, the World Health Organization estimates that in 2020, 73+ million unborn children were killed. This is a genocide with no end in sight. It's one where the feminists, people have tended to think that this is a feminist strong point. I think it's a cornerstone of feminism, and it's one we can remove. And I think a lot is gonna come crashing down with it, because women in particular, not in particular, but I mean, women know there's something wrong here.
Absolutely. Everybody knows there's something wrong here. And I can't imagine the cognitive dissonance I would experience if I knew the movement I belonged to's cornerstone was killing children.
Right.
And of course, then one of their other cornerstones is training women to lie their way through divorces out of battered women's shelters. It is a corrupt movement. We could sit here and discuss this all day long, but let's save some of it for ICMI. I think it'll be a great discussion. I can't wait to see the professor that you've lined up to talk on this. It's a great, important topic, and it's about time that it made it to that list that's behind you.
Thank you, Paul. I'm pleased to say, since I raised it for the first time at an ICMI in Chicago in 2019, not one MRA has said to me that he or she thinks it's a mistake. Isn't that quite astonishing? I raised it with some trepidation in Chicago because I thought I'm really gonna get some kickback on this. Not one sentence of kickback. So I think it's an idea whose time has come.
Yeah, I have heard a couple of times over time, and including one discussion I had with an individual I really like at ICMI who thought it was a mistake. Overwhelmingly, I mean, 99% of the response I've heard to this topic is it's about time.
Yeah,
So, I mean, it is an idea whose time has come, and it's important that we add our voices to the anti-abortion, anti-child murder racket that's going on across the world.
Agreed. And thanks very much for bringing that up, Paul. And I think it's a wrap.
It is indeed.
Great. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye now.